You ever open your garage and find a stranger's car parked inside? Yeah, that happened to me. And not just any stranger. Karen, you know the type. HOA board member with a nameplate on her mailbox, 3 dogs named after British royals, and an opinion about everything from your mailbox color to your recycling bin placement. Had dealt with her before. Passive-aggressive flyers, random citations. That one time she knocked on my door to complain that my Halloween decorations were too secular. But this was a whole new level. It started innocently enough, or at least confusingly. I'd been away for the weekend, visiting my sister in Santa Cruz. When I got back, I hit my garage opener, and nothing happened. I tried again. Still nothing. Figured the power had gone out or something tripped the fuse. I parked on the street, walking through the side door, flipped the breakers, and headed to the garage. And there it was, a silver Lexus. Just sitting there, in my garage. I stared at it for a solid minute, trying to process. My garage is detached, mind you. Not visible from the street unless you walk up the driveway and peek in. Which meant someone had deliberately gone out of their way to open it, drive in, and shut it behind them. That someone being Karen. How did I know? The vanity plate, Karen QUN. I'd seen it parked crookedly across 3 HOA spaces more times than I could count. I was fuming, but I didn't act out. Not yet. Instead, I took pictures. Inside and out. Then checked the garage keypad. She'd reset it to her own passcode. Probably thought she was slick. Stormed over to her house, 3 doors down, and knocked. She opened with that smug half-mile that made you want to flip a lawn chair. "Oh, hi, you're back." "Karen, why is your car in my garage?" She blinked. "Oh, that. Yes. So glad you asked." No apology, no surprise, just that chirpy HOA tone like I'd caught her reorganizing my garden gnome collection. She continued, "We've been having overflow issues lately. I brought it up at the last HOA meeting. Street parking's gotten so crowded. Dale's nephew had to park 3 houses away. So I implemented a temporary shared use policy." "Of my garage?" I deadpanned. She nodded. "Exactly. You were out of town, and I noticed your garage wasn't being used. It's really more efficient this way." "Karen, that's not how property works." She waved me off. "Don't be so territorial. We're a community." Oh no. She said the C word. Community, which in HOA speak means I get to use your stuff if I feel like it. I kept it cool. Told her she had until sundown to remove the car. She shrugged and said, "Well, I'll try, but I'm busy tonight. Bunko night." I smiled and went back home. And I started planning, because here's the thing Karen didn't know. While she was playing HOA Monopoly, I was working from home for a cybersecurity firm that specialized in smart access control systems. And my garage? Let's just say it was smarter than Karen. And the first thing I did was reprogram the garage opener. Karen might have thought her keypad hack was clever, but I had administrative override. One quick login to the app on my phone, and her code was toast. Access revoked. Next, I pulled at the HOA bylaws. I keep a copy in the cloud, because this isn't my first HOA rodeo. And sure enough, under Section 6.3, no resident may use, occupy, or enter another member's private property, including garages, without prior written consent. Clear as day. So I printed it out, highlighted the relevant clause, and slid it under her door with a little sticky note that said, "A no community clause justifies trespassing. Kindly remove your vehicle. You have until 6 p.m. today." No threats, no drama, just facts and boundaries. Naturally, Karen didn't take it well. At 5:45 p.m., I saw her marching up my driveway with a giant iced coffee in one hand and her phone in the other, like she was about to call Judge Judy. She knocked. I opened. "Your tone is very hostile," she said. I blinked. "Karen, your car is in my garage, and now it's being held hostage," she snapped. "That's theft." I almost laughed. "It's not theft if I'm holding it on my property," I said. "It's called trespass impoundment. Look it up." She huffed and puffed and waved her HOA lanyard at me like it was a badge. "You're violating the spirit of the community. I was just solving a problem." I handed her the printout of the bylaws. "And I'm solving another one." She glanced at it, rolled her eyes, and stormed off. The car stayed. That night she posted on the neighborhood Facebook group about an aggressive and non-cooperative resident weaponizing property lines. The comments? Root? No. Someone replied, "Wait, is this about the garage thing? Girl, you broke into someone's garage." Another posted a photo of my driveway with a popcorn emoji. Dale, the HOA president, sent me a private message that said, "Sorry, she didn't run this by anyone. We're discussing it at the next meeting." But I wasn't waiting for a meeting. I had a new plan. If Karen wanted to treat my garage like a public parking structure, then fine. I'd treat her car like luggage in an unattended locker and go on vacation. I booked a last-minute trip to Big Sur, cozy Airbnb, mountains, no cell service. Before leaving, I locked the garage with my app, activated the motion sensors, and set my smart assistant to vacation mode. This would mute all incoming alerts, except for break-ins, which would still trigger emergency protocols. Then I left a note on the garage door. It read, "Temporarily out of service. Vehicle may be retrieved upon my return, assuming appropriate boundaries are respected. Thank you for your understanding." I hit the road. 3 hours later, I was sipping wine under redwood trees, watching squirrels fight over an acorn, and wondering how long it would take Karen to snap. Spoiler alert, less than 24 hours. The first message came the next morning. A text. "You locked it? I need my car. You're being unreasonable." Then a voicemail. "I'm calling the HOA and the police. You'll regret this." And then a photo of her standing in front of my garage in heels, arms folded. Behind her, Dale stood awkwardly, like he had just wandered into a very bad TikTok live. I didn't respond. I just turned off my notifications and went hiking. Because I wasn't just teaching Karen a lesson. I was living my best life while doing it. Day 3 of my vacation. No signal, no HOA drama, no Karen, just nature. I sat on a deck overlooking the fog rolling off the hills, hot coffee in hand, and thought, I could live like this. Then I drove into town for groceries. And my phone lit up like a pinball machine. Karen had entered what I like to call the meltdown phase. 10 missed calls, 5 voicemails, 3 texts in all caps. One said, "This is kidnapping." Another, "You're going to jail." I have friends in code enforcement. And my personal favorite, "You are sickulating the Geneva Convention." I guess she thought parking in someone else's garage was a wartime offense now. The HOA thread back home had erupted. Someone posted a screenshot of her Facebook Live titled, "Trapped by a Neighbor's Hostility," where she stood in front of my garage like she was auditioning for Real Housewives HOA edition. Behind her, Dale tried to explain, again, that she had violated bylaws, that I wasn't home, and that her car would be fine if she just waited. She didn't wait. He called the police. Yep. I found this out from my ring cam playback later. 2 uniformed officers showed up, had a calm chat with Karen, then knocked on my front door. My smart doorbell kicked in with a pleasant tone and a pre-recorded message I had programmed just in case. Hello. I'm currently out of town. This property is under full surveillance. If you need assistance, please call the non-emergency line and leave a report. An officer chuckled. The other radioed it in. Karen paced and pointed at the garage like she was presenting evidence on law and order, entitled Unit. But the cops didn't buy it. They reviewed the footage of her entering my garage without permission, saw the email printout I taped to the door, saw the legal documents I left on the porch in a waterproof folder. One of them looked right at her and said, "Ma'am, you parked in someone else's garage without consent. That's trespassing. He's not holding your car hostage. He's keeping you off his property." Karen turned beet red. Then she tried to argue that my garage was technically community adjacent. The officer replied, "So is your neighbor's pool. Would you jump in without asking?" She stomped off, waving her arms and vowing to escalate this to higher channels. I assume she meant Facebook groups. Meanwhile, I stayed in Big Sur, had pancakes, went kayaking, read a book with no HOA crimes in it. Bliss! On day 5, I finally texted her back. "I return Sunday. Your car will be released then. Please read HOA Section 6.3 before parking again." No response. But my camera caught her driving by the next morning, slowing down like she was casing the joint for a sequel. When I got back, her car was still there, untouched, dusty, probably low on gas. I opened the garage, stepped in, and found a note under the windshield. It said, "This was a misunderstanding. Please, let's move forward peacefully." Underneath, she'd scribbled Karen in giant cursive letters. I took a photo, printed it, and filed it under Karen Incidents, Vault 2. Then I backed her car out, parked it in her driveway, and changed every password on every smart device I owned. Permanently, because Karen didn't need access. Not to my garage, not to my life. Not anymore. By Monday morning, it was all anyone could talk about. Apparently, Karen's garage gate drama had turned into a full-blown HOA gossip tornado. I couldn't walk my dog without someone smirking and saying, "So, how was your hostage situation?" But Karen, she was still on the offensive. That afternoon, I got a formal email CCing me, the HOA board, and, get this, a lawyer. Subject line, property dispute and emotional distress. Inside, it accused me of unlawful detainment of her car, public embarrassment for letting the footage leak, which I hadn't, and creating a hostile community environment through passive-aggressive smart home technology. Yeah. She literally blamed my garage door opener for her breakdown. Her lawyers signed the email as Stanley B., with no firm name or contact number. I Googled it. Stanley was her brother, a paralegal, in Florida. I replied, "Hi, Karen. Ed Stanley. Please see attached. TIDHOA, Bylaw 6.3, highlighted. Photos of the trespass. Time tampering footage. Screenshot of your public posts referencing parking strategy. Your car was stored safely and undamaged. You were informed in writing. You are welcome to retrieve it anytime by making a legal appointment. Warmest regards, your neighbor who owns the garage." I CC'd Dale. The board responded within the hour. "Karen, your actions were not sanctioned by the HOA. Please refrain from further misuse of authority. We will address this at the next formal session." And address it they did. The next HOA meeting was standing room only. I didn't plan to attend. I'd already won the moral Super Bowl. But Dale asked me to show up and give a brief statement for the record. And I walked in. Karen was seated, front row, arms crossed, lips pursed into a shape only known to bitter lemons. Dale cleared his throat and said, "We'd like to begin with a review of last week's incident involving unauthorized garage usage." Karen cut in, "It was community overflow. There was no space on the curb." A neighbor piped up, "Karen, your driveway fits 4 cars. You have 1. Muffled chuckles. I stood and kept it classy, laid out the facts, showed the camera angles, reaffirmed that my garage is, in fact, mine. Karen tried to shout over me, but Dale cut her off. "Karen, this is your 3rd violation of procedural conduct this year. First the Halloween flyers, then the unauthorized lawn citations, and now this. We're voting on disciplinary action." And then they voted to suspend her from the HOA board indefinitely. She stood up, gasped like someone just canceled The Bachelor mid-season, and shouted, "This is an injustice. I was protecting neighborhood harmony." A second neighbor muttered, "You parked in someone's house, Karen." She stormed out. For real this time. No camera crew, no Facebook Live. Just the sound of clacking heels, fading into irrelevance. The rest of the meeting was spent proposing actual useful ideas, like a community app for guest parking requests, a shared tool library, and, my favorite, a Know Your Bylaws seminar for board members. Guess who they asked to host it? Of course, I said yes. And yes, I opened it with a slide titled, "This is not your garage." 2 weeks after the great garage fiasco, things started to feel normal. Well, better than normal. Neighbors who used to wave out of obligation now stopped to chat. I got 2 banana breads, 1 thank you card, and an invite to boys' poker night hosted by Mr. Jensen from Lot 14, who had previously only nodded at me once in 3 years. Apparently, standing up to Karen had turned me into a kind of neighborhood folk hero. People started calling me Garage Guy. One kid rode by on his scooter and shouted, "Lock 'em up again, Mr. G." Even the HOA board softened. Dale, once stiff as a lamppost in a blazer, actually smiled when he saw me. And Karen? She went quiet. Not apologize and moved on quiet. More like embarrassed to show her face, but still refuses to admit she was wrong. Quiet. She stopped attending meetings. Her community newsletter mysteriously disappeared. I heard whispers she was considering selling her house and moving to a new development with a looser HOA, if such a place exists. But one final act remained, and came in the form of a hand-delivered letter in a pink envelope with sparkles. I thought it was a prank, maybe a kid's party invite. No, it was an apology. Sort of. I acknowledge that my actions may have caused discomfort and confusion. My intentions were rooted in communal spirit, but I understand they were misinterpreted. I hope to coexist peacefully moving forward. No signature, just an embossed K. I laughed, loud, like movie villain loud. It wasn't a real apology, but in Karen speak, that was practically groveling. And I accepted it, not because I forgave her, but because I no longer cared. I'd reinforced my garage with a smart cam that tracks license plates. I drafted a cease and desist template for neighbors who get any overflow ideas. And my new Wi-Fi network name, "This is not your garage, _5G. But most importantly, I'd won without yelling, fighting, or stooping to her level, but taken a vacation instead. 1 week of silence, reflection, and redwood trees, while Karen screamed into the HOA. That's the kind of energy I want for the rest of my life. So if you ever find a Karen parked in your metaphorical garage, here's my advice. Set boundaries early. Document everything. Lock the damn door. And take a vacation. Seriously, the drama can wait. Because peace isn't the absence of Karens. It's having a smart lock, a solid plan, and the courage to say, this is mine, you don't get to take it. Thanks for tuning in. If you've got your own HOA horror story, or just love watching petty justice unfold, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. I'm always here, in my garage.